Garbha Konasana and Kukutasana. Then you do a vinyasa and come into Badha Konasa. So for the first Badha Konasana, you're going to try to keep your spine as straight as possible. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, hinge at the hips, coming forward, always leading with the heart here. And so for this adjustment, you can come down onto your knees, and you're taking your thumbs to the front, fingers to the back. And so my hands are effectively rotating her thighs externally while pressing the sit bones down. And then my chest is going to come to her shoulder blades and then press forward. So I'm pressing down, I'm rotating outward, my elbows are lowering down, my chest is coming to the shoulder blades, and I'm pressing her forward while I'm rotating the thighs outward. And slowly release. So that's the first Badha Konasana, and then the second you bring navel to spine like an Uddiyana Bandha, round through the spine and bring the crown of the head towards the feet. You hold each for 5 breaths. Great. And then inhale, rise. You go through a vinyasa, and then we have Upavista Konasana. So taking wide leg, seated wide leg forward fold. Okay. So again, same like with the normal forward fold. You're going to inhale, lengthen, exhale, hinge at the hips, coming forward. And of course, for modification, elbows can come to the mat. The elbows don't even have to come down, just the hands. You want your student to be effectively rotating their legs outward as they're coming forward. So you want to make sure that the feet don't start rotating forward. Keep the foot flexed up towards the sky. And the adjustment is the same here. So you can come down behind, take your hands to the tops of the thighs, rotate outward and press the sit bones down. Chest comes forward and lean forward here. So I'm sliding my chest up her back to lengthen her spine and push down very gently. So you hold here for 5 breaths, and then you'll lift the feet up. So if you're folded forward and able to hold the feet, eventually you want to be able to lift without letting go of the feet. I'm not quite there yet. And then you hold here for 5 breaths, and then you roll back. Let's see, I'm gonna go that way. So then you roll back to like a plow with wide legs. Now I'm taking my peace fingers around the big toe, and I'm pressing my sit bones up towards the ceiling so my spine is straight. From here you hold 5 breaths, then you roll up. Here you hold 5 breaths, and then you roll up, and then down. So you hold up for 1 breath, and down for 1 more breath. Okay, I'll just show that one more time. So Supta Konasana, it's like plow with wide legs. You roll up, hold here for 1 breath, keep the feet nice and flexed. As you lower, you want to land on the calves, not the heels. So lower down, 1 breath. Lift up, vinyasa. Okay, Supta Padangustasana. So after your vinyasa, you'll hop the feet through and lie down on your back. So here, modification is to use a strap. So go ahead and lift your right foot first. You may put a strap around the ball of the foot, or if it's accessible, do you want a strap or do you want to take it with your foot?
I could do it with my.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Yep. So, so you may put a strap around the ball of the foot, and you're just holding that strap with the right hand, or peace fingers around the big toe. And Carolyn is going to lift her head towards her shin, and you hold here for 5 breaths. After those 5 breaths, you're going to let that right leg drop out to the side, and you're going to gaze to the left. So the adjustment here is I'm going to take one hand to the hip that wants to rise. In this case, it's her left hip. So I'm going to press down on the left hip, and you notice that her leg raises up. I'm going to use my opposite hand to press her leg down. Now, I know Carolina has a sensitive right knee, so instead of pressing on the shin, which is normally what I would do if someone had a healthy knee, I'm going to press on the thigh. So I'm pressing this hip down, and I'm opening this thigh. Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Opening this thigh up. Okay. And then slowly. So again, here is another option. I just don't want to put too much pressure on the knee right now. And then, so 5 breaths there, and then you lift the leg back up. Exhale, lift the head towards the shin for 1 breath, and then release and change sides. Okay, so again, holding with the head up for 5 breaths, and then opening to the side. And I'll show the adjustment again over here. So the heel of my left hand now is coming down to her right thigh. Notice how this leg lifts. And then I'm pressing down. Is that okay? This is one of my favorite adjustments. And then inhale, rise back up. Exhale, head to the shin, and then release. Okay, so to get from here back into your vinyasa, in traditional practice, you would do a chakrasana, which is a backward roll. So I can demonstrate that. So after you've done your Utthara Padangusthasana, out to the side on both sides, then you're lying on your back. Hands come just behind the shoulders like you would for wheel, for example. Knees come up into the chest, and you're squeezing tight like a ball. You may need a little bit of momentum. You want to make sure that you're going straight back and not to the side, which could hurt your neck. But you want to have equal pressure on both hands. So then you're lifting your knees up, rolling over the neck, coming onto the toes, pressing into the hands, and then you do your chaturanga, up dog, downward dog. Okay. It helps to have a really strong shoulder stand plow to do the chakrasana. If there's any tightness or weirdness in the neck, it's better just to skip it. Until those muscles are a little bit more open. Okay, so next is Ubhaya Padangusthasana. So it is, you're going to roll back into plow. Is this one, do you want me to demonstrate?
I think that I practiced around it a long time.
Okay.
The second one, I don't think I have.
Okay.
I can do that one.
Okay. Okay, so Ubhaya Padangusthasana. So after you've jumped through, you're going to roll back into plow, taking your peace fingers around your big toes. Okay, there's just 1 breath here, and then Carolina's gonna rock herself up. Nice. Notice I'm here just to catch her, to help her. Shoulders back, chest forward. So you want the spine to be nice and straight. No worries. 5 breaths there, and then you would do a vinyasa. Beautiful. Great. So then after that, you would do a vinyasa. And then you come to Urdhva Mukha Paschimottanasana. And so the way you get into it is the same, except for instead of holding your big toe with your peace fingers, you're going to hold the outside of your foot in plow. So it looks like this. Okay, so 1 breath. Roll up, catch yourself here, and then bring your legs towards your face. Hold. 5 breaths. And then vinyasa. We're almost there. Okay, for Setu Bandhasana. So, fish is comfortable for you?
Fish is okay.
Okay, so I'm going to have Carolina show the modification, and then we'll look at how to get into the full variation. So, I'm going to have her come into fish pose first. So she's using her elbows, she's pressing into the mat, lifting the chest up, and then lowering down onto the crown of her head. From here, you may just stay in fish pose. You may leave the elbows and see about pressing into the heels and lifting the hips up. Press the heels down into the mat and lift just the hips. Yes, so this is a good modification as well. Yeah. So Don't hurt yourself. If it feels like too much, just stay in fish pose. Okay. So, I'm gonna hop onto this mat to show this one. Okay. So, modification coming up. Fish pose. You keep the hands, elbows on the mat and try lifting the hips. Just see how that feels. Okay. Another option is to take the hands like you would for a wheel and then see about lifting the hips. Okay. And eventually, you're going to take your legs to a diamond. Outsides of the feet are on the mat. So you can do those same modifications with the feet in a diamond. So again, fish pose. See about lifting the hips. Okay. Hands beside the ears. See about lifting the hips. And then eventually, you're going to roll onto the head, onto the forehead. And the hands can stay on the mat or take the shoulders. You'll lower down, lift up, and relax. Again, from here, you're going to do a chakrasana, and I'll just demonstrate it from the side angle so that you can see. Hands come to behind the shoulders, knees in tight. Lifting the feet behind you, all the way to the mat. Press into the hands, vinyasa. Thanks.
That was really good.
Okay, so there's Setu Bandhasana. So next up is wheel or Urdhva Dhanurasana. We'll look at bridge pose first as a modification. So we're gonna lie down on the back, feet hips width apart and close to the sit bones. So one thing that's common here is the feet will be either too wide or too close together and not parallel. So you want to just check and make sure that the feet are nice and parallel here. Hands come to beside the hips. A nice way to measure the distance of your feet is that your fingertips should sort of tickle your backs of your heels. So the way I like to cue this pose is very, very slowly, vertebra by vertebra. I think it's really important that you actually feel your spine slowly lifting. So usually what I'll cue first is pressing the low back into the mat. And as soon as you press your low back into the mat, you'll feel your abdominals engage and you'll feel your pelvis start to want to tilt. And then with each inhalation, you can lift vertebra by vertebra, nice and slow. You want the strength to be in the thighs here. And you're pressing the feet into the mat and squeezing the inner thighs together. Then you may stay here, you may walk the shoulders towards each other and clasp the hands beneath you and even lift the hips even higher. From here, this is a good place to come into your wheel pose. So when we go into wheel, I'll demonstrate from here. So to come back down, release the hands and then lower it down slowly vertebra by vertebra until the hips come down. Walk the feet out to the side, let the knees rest together to reset and relax the low back. Do you want to do that?
We can try. I'm not sure my spine's warm enough. We can try.
Okay.
I struggle with straightening my arms.
Okay.
So it might be good for you to give me some cues.
Cool. Okay, so to come into the full wheel or Urdhva Dhanurasana, first, before you even put your hands there, I'm going to have you come back into bridge. So slowly lift up, just like we did before with bridge. Nice and slow. Good. Now take the hands behind the shoulders and press to lift yourself up. Nice. Okay, beautiful. So the adjustment here, let me show you. You're going to take your forearms right to the part in the spine where they're bending. I've got one knee up. I may come onto both knees if that's comfortable. My fingertips are touching and I'm pressing her low spine away from her middle spine with my forearms. I'm going to slowly release and let her come down just the way that she did. Good. Now, if they're a little bit nervous with their arms, the strength of their arms, then you'll want to keep your hands on their hips the whole time. I know Carolina has the strength, so I didn't hold on to her the whole time, but you may have to do that. Nice. So just to recap the adjustment, so it looks like this. So I'm underneath her spine like this. My fingertips stay together, and I'm pressing my wrists and elbows out so that my forearms are parallel to each other underneath, okay? So it looks like this, underneath. Okay, and you'll know if the elbows get too wide, then you're lengthening one side of the spine more than the other, or if the wrists get too wide, so you want to keep them even as you press apart. And so I'm going up into the bendy part of the spine and pressing out pretty strongly. Okay, so it's lengthening that lumbar spine. Okay, so then you would come up for wheel and you'd hold for 5 breaths. I'm going to demonstrate the 3 different wheels on this mat. Okay, so again, you come through bridge, into wheel, hold 5 breaths. Then you lower onto your head. This is assuming you have the strength and a nice strong wheel. And then bring your hands closer to your feet. Lift up, 5 breaths. Lower the head, walk the hands closer, lift up. Now, when you're in wheel, you want to be pressing towards the armpits to open up the thoracic spine more. Then from here, if you're on your own, you're going to rock 1, 2, 3. Eventually, you're going to rock to stand up. And so what the teacher would do here then is to, do you want to try rocking up?
Yeah, I've never done that.
So the teacher will take the foot between the legs, and so I would hold the back of Carolina's spine and pull her up like this.
I don't know.
Okay, no worries, no worries. So that's fine. So do you mind doing one more wheel?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're just going to demonstrate what that would look like, but not come all the way up. That's okay. Okay, so you can press into the hands, press and lift up. Good. Can you walk your hands a little bit closer to your feet? Good. Okay, so my leg is coming here, and I'm holding her here. Now, just rock back and forth gently. So it'd be 1, 2, and then on 3, I would pull her all the way up to stand. And what she would do is she would keep her arms back the whole time. Back, 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 back. And then when she comes to stand, she'd bring her hands here. And then it's the same going back down. So I would hold her here, and she would press forward, and then hands, keep her hands back, 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 all the way down. So the key is that when they're in their back bend, if they lift their hands up, see what happens? That's when you fall. So you want to keep the hands back. As you're lifting up, 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 then once you're standing, hands can come to heart. And then once you're standing to get back, immediately drop the arms back, and that's what helps you get down. Okay? So you could try that 3 times. So you lift up and back down 3 times. Great. So then you do another Matsyasana. You're going to do just a little forward fold. So this is a nice one. You don't have to worry too much about form here. It's more about countering the deep back bend. So you can kind of just relax your arms, and I may give her one of these sort of deeper adjustments here to just kind of help her reset her spine. Okay. Then it's a vinyasa, and then sarvandasana or shoulder stand. So, for shoulder stand, you're going to lie down on your back. You are going to take your knees into your chest, and you're going to take your hands to your low back. Now, keeping your knees into your chest so you're in a nice tight ball, you're going to rock yourself side to side to walk the shoulders and the elbows closer together. As she's rocking her elbows closer together, she's walking her hands up the spine. Nice and slow. Notice she keeps her legs bent the whole time. Once the hands are as high up on the back as they'll go, then you can straighten the legs one at a time or both at the same time. Great. Make sure that there's some space between the chin and the chest here, so you don't want to be digging into the chest. You're okay there. You can relax your neck. The adjustment here is to take your feet to the outside of the elbows. You're going to hold on to the shins or the ankles, whatever is easier for you. With some, you may have to hug like this to get the strength to lift up. So I'm going to keep an eye on her face, make sure that she's okay. And bending my knees, I'm going to lift her legs up and sort of guide her elbows closer together. Notice that she moved her elbows on her own as soon as I lifted her legs up. Okay. Shoulder stand, you'll hold for anywhere from 10 to 20 breaths. Then you'll lower the feet down behind the head and plow. Tops of the toes on the mat. Sit bones lifted towards the sky, working towards having a straight spine. If the feet touch the mat, you can release the hands and clasp them down on the mat. 5 breaths here. Then bend the knees beside the ears, keep the feet touching, tops of the feet on the mat now, and press the palms of the hands into the mat. So release the clasp, perfect. And then you'll hold here for 5 breaths. Now, if you have lotus, you'll come back into shoulder stand, do the lotus. I'll demonstrate that in a moment. Otherwise, take the hands back to the low back. You can come back to shoulder stand if you like, or just lower yourself down slowly. And then we'll come into fish pose. So to come into fish pose, depending on the level of the practitioner, you may take the hands underneath the bum. That helps to get a little bit more support. So this will be the first modification, taking the hands under the bum, pressing into the elbows, lifting the chest, lifting the heart. Come on down for 1 second. So then the other option is to keep the hands loose, lift your torso up, lift the heart up, drop the head back, and shift back onto the crown of the head. So I say this is the next variation because eventually, from this fish pose, you'll come off your elbows and bring the palms of your hands together and lift your feet both at a 45-degree angle, like this. To come out, release the feet and the hands, take your elbows to the mat, lift the torso, and relax. Again, there would be a chakrasana before the headstand. Okay. So I'll demonstrate the other parts of the shoulder stand. Thank you. Okay, so just again to recap with the shoulder stand, taking the knees into the chest, hands to the low back. You're gonna rock yourself side to side so that the elbows and the shoulders. It's so hard to talk and do this.
I know.
Like it emphasizes the focus.
Right.
Okay, so just to recap with shoulder stand, you're gonna take your knees into your chest, hands to the low back. Keeping the knees bent in a nice tight ball, you're gonna rock yourself from side to side, bringing the elbows and the shoulders closer together. While you're bringing the elbows and shoulders closer together, you'll be able to walk the hands up the spine. Once they're as high as they'll go, then you can straighten out the legs. So, holding here for 10 to 20 breaths, lowering down into plow. If the feet touch, you can release the hands and clasp. 5 breaths here. Palms of the hands come to the mat, bend the knees beside the ears, feet, tops of the feet on the mat, feet touching. If the knees touch the mat, you can squeeze the ears. 5 breaths. Then back into shoulder stand. If lotus is in the practice, and you may need to use the hands, then you can come into lotus. You can stay in lotus here or bring the hands to the knees. Hold 5 breaths. Then wrap around the lotus and bind 5 breaths. After the 5 breaths, you can use the hands to lower yourself back down. Coming into fish pose, so my knees are lowering, so I'm lifting my chest, using my elbows to prop. Lift the heart, drop the crown of the head, take hold of the feet. 5 breaths. Release the feet and the hands. 5 breaths. Lower down. Use the elbows to lift yourself. Chakrasana.